Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 o'clock in a very cold and wet Poland. I hope it's beautiful weather where you are. And yeah, for those who are new here, my name is Lloyd De Jongh. And for those who struggle with my name, it's Lloyd De Jongh. And I'm here with my very special guest, the legendary Usama Dakdok. And we're going to go through the mind-bending, completely yeah, this book does things to my brain that hurt. It's called the Quran, and we're asking ourselves the question: is this the revelation of error? As a spoiler, the answer is yes. And yeah, it has been the most interesting exploration. And today we're going to be talking about Idris, who I believe is the second prophet mentioned in the Quran, supposed to be a spiritual ancestor of Muhammad. And we're going to look at this particular figure and, as has been the case, scratch our heads a whole lot. So welcome, Usama. So good to see you.
Hello, Brother Lloyd, and greetings to you, and greetings to all your wonderful audience in the name of our Lord and our Savior, Jesus Christ. I scratched my head for the last 40 some years since I started understanding some of the things of the Quran. Look what happened. I used to have hair. Keep
You
scratching
know,
my head.
I am also slowly starting to. But you know what they say? Grass does not grow on a busy street.
No, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that people can believe in that book to be the only miracle Muhammad had to prove his prophecy. I mean, literally, the prophethood of Islam is built on one thing, not three. And maybe in the future, if you will write down on the side, write down on the side, piece of paper, I would like to do the miracles of Muhammad. The miracles of Muhammad. That's another study for another program. But the
Yeah,
only miracle I believe we have evidence in the claim of Muhammad to be a prophet is that book. Literally, that's it. If the Quran failed to be a miracle, that means Muhammad is the only prophet who came to this world without prophethood, without prophecy, without miracle. So and I love how to see Muslims, they show this high respect and love and awe for the holy word of Allah, the Quran. And I always ask them, have you read it? Oh, yeah. I memorized this portion and that portion. Okay. Have you understood it? And the answer is no. Literally. And it's amazing that some people will tell me the reason we believe that the Quran is the perfect word of Allah, it's not the word of man, is because it is so hard to understand. Brother Lloyd, you see, the Bible is an easy book. Anybody can write a book like the Bible. I mean, for heaven's sake, there's hundreds of books look like the Bible, thousands of books look like the, but the Quran, it is the only book which is one of a kind. There is not one book like it. And if the human and the jinn gather together to write such wonderful writing like that in the Quran, they can't. So since it is so hard to understand, it is so difficult to follow. You could not figure out your head from your feet or by reading that book. That itself is a great evidence that the Quran is the word of Allah. Because see, Allah is so amazing, his book have to be so amazing. You cannot understand Allah, therefore you cannot understand his book, the Quran. This is the logical belief among many of our dear Muslim friends, forgetting that Allah in the Quran declared it is easy book to understand. It is pure Arabic, and it is this, and it is that. And when we dig into it, these claims are not true, Brother Lloyd. They're not true.
right. I wonder, um, oh, why am I, let me do that. Yeah, there's an interesting booklet that I have. Let me just go there. It's in, let me just open this up, eDrive.
And I believe, Brother Lloyd, if the Muslim will bless himself by reading the Bible, as we
Yeah,
go through this broadcast, just read these stories which Muhammad mentioned in the Quran and the Bible, and you will figure out for yourself. There's something wrong with that book. There's something wrong, very
yeah.
badly, very badly.
Now, I need to say thank you to Drink Milk. Much appreciated. Very, very grateful. He says Islam is the greatest lie in history. I would think so, certainly. Usama, Badr Azimabadi has compiled 300 authenticated miracles of Muhammad. And not only
Oh,
that, on top of these 300, we have another 6,000 because every verse of the Quran is also an incomparable miracle. So we can learn from this man that there are all of these miracles, 300 of them.
awesome, awesome. And as we,
So
if
Muhammad,
Lord willing, we do that study, we'll have fun with it. We'll come to the conclusion: if any of these miracles is true, that means Muhammad cannot be a prophet. Imagine that with me. They're proclaiming the 300 miracles. If one of them is true, that is a great evidence that Muhammad is not a true prophet or a messenger from Allah. So anyway, that is the story of today. We got Mr. Idris. Are you ready to launch Idris?
yes, the stories in the Quran makes as much sense as a shuffled deck of cards from Sean Anderson. Exactly. It is, I don't know how, it is so incoherent. It is so haphazard. It is so unstructured. It's difficult to understand how anyone can see this as I don't know, divine. It's just, beyond me.
Yeah. Idris is it is the easiest prophet you can understand in the Quran, because simply there is nothing written about him. You know what I'm saying? And since we don't have any information about him, therefore it is the easiest prophet we for us to study his life, study his heritage, study his message, study his I mean, there's so much we can learn about Idris from the Quran in no time at all, because nothing is written there. Are you following me so far?
Yeah, Idris, there are reasons why Muslims are so vague about certain details. Because once you start to examine, you start to realize that there's something very strange about these figures. There's something that they don't really want the rest of us to know. Something the scholars know, which they want to conceal.
Yeah, but my question always to our dear Muslim friends who always back up their claim that the Quran is the perfect word of Allah, because we have our scholars who help us to understand the Quran. My question is, have you ever asked yourself where your scholars come up with their information? Are they messengers themselves? Are they prophets themselves? Did
Yes.
Allah reveal to them more than what Allah revealed to Muhammad? No. How in the world you believe what they teach about these prophets, or how can you accept their interpretation to be interpretation when in reality it is all nothing but fabrication? Nothing is written in the Quran about Idris. Therefore, there is no way Ibn Kathir can help us to understand that. Let's go to Quran chapter 19 and read these two unique verses about the second, or maybe the third, or maybe the fourth, or maybe the fifth prophet of Allah in the Quran, according to
Chapter
Islam.
19.
Because, chapter 19, verses 56 and 57, mashallah, mashallah, this is the perfect word of Allah in the Quran.
Yeah, that's chapter 19, the story of
No,
the
no, no, no,
live.
no, not in my book, in the Quran, brother, in the Quran.
My bad.
19 in my book is Elisha. We're talking about the Prophet Idris, peace be upon him. Peace be
You
upon
said
him.
chapter 19.
The book of Maryam, yes, sir. And we're going to
56.
go to verses 56 and 57, and that's all what we got. That's all what we got. Nothing more, nothing less.
And remember in the book Idris, surely he was a friend, a prophet, and we raised him to a high place. So
Wow.
that was a lot to write. That was real artistry. That was like some Shakespeare stuff, and someone would have gotten tired after thinking up something that profound, and they put down their pen and fell asleep, and they forgot to write more, because you don't need more than this.
Exactly. It's amazing. I went to Al-Tabari just today. I know in my book I only use Ibn Kathir, but for some reason here I went to Al-Tabari to see what Al-Tabari said about that. The first verse 56, you have just one simple sentence. واذكر في الكتاب إدريس إنه كان صديقا نبيا. It says here, and remember, O Muhammad, in our book, this. You know what does it mean? Al-Tabari is trying to tell me that the story of Idris, Allah is talking about it in the Quran, not in some other book. Remember, O Muhammad, in this book, in this Quran, Idris, he was a prophet, he was a friend. He does not lie. لا يقول الكذب. نبيا is a prophet. نوحي إليه من أمرنا ما نشاء. We reveal to him from our affair whatever we wish. That is the interpretation to verse 56. I mean, it sounds to me like 56 have 8 words. You should give me a little bit more interpretation than that.
A couple of things, though.
Go ahead, brother.
Sorry, no, it's just that Villainous says, and Villainous comes to us all the way from Australia. It says Eli Jah or Eli Yah. So funny they refer to him in the Quran when God's name is embedded in the name, and it's not Allah. It's, Eliyah. It's Yahweh. It's crazy.
See, the Hebrew name for God is the true accurate name, and the prophets of Allah in the Quran are given sometime. I mean, he actually changed these names in the Arabic language. We just look at the English translation of it, which means, but somehow the real names of the prophet in the Bible, or somehow Quran twists them a little bit, change them a little bit, still has the real name of God, not Allah, But
right, and another thing. Potential here, but he was a friend, a prophet, and that word friend could be a loaded word in that often when in Islam, when they refer to, there are certain code words, and the word friend could refer to he was a Sufi, he was an enlightened one, he wasn't so there could be that he was one who was a mystic who had ascended and merged his soul with Allah. He'd achieved that merger with Allah. That could also be a connotation potentially there, and there's a reason why I say this.
Well, yes, you got a point. You got a very good point. But here we go. According to Al-Tabari interpretation to Quran 50, verse 56, 1956, he's telling us in this book, the Quran. I'm sorry. That makes the Quran so poor because we know nothing about Idris in that book, the Quran. Nothing is written about Idris. So how can Allah is talking about the Quran when in reality, obviously, every time Allah mentions the Quran, واذكر في كتابنا, or واذكر في الكتاب, and remember in the book, I believe 100% Muhammad is talking about the Bible, not the Quran. I mean, let me prove it to you. If you go in the same chapter we're on right now, go a little bit earlier, Quran chapter 19. Okay.
To which verse?
I'm going to give you in a minute. Verse 16. Same verse, same words. واذكر في الكتاب, and remember in the book, Maryam. Well, if you talk about Maryam in the Quran, you have nothing to talk about. Where do we learn about Maryam or Mary? It's in Matthew Gospel. It's in Luke Gospel. It is the prophecies of the Old Testament of Isaiah and others. So you cannot tell me that when Allah said, and remember in the book, Maryam, he's talking about the Quran. He's talking about the Bible.
That's a really good observation. Yes.
And you can see that if you look for the word, وَذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ, you see that statement is repeated so many times in the Quran. Let me tell you where exactly we can find that word and how we can prove that that's not what we're talking about. وَذْكُرْ وَأَذْكُرْ here is the ra, kaf, ra. Okay, that statement is written in the Quran 15 times. Okay, sometimes is remember your Lord. That's fine. But when you tell me and remember in the book, That is talking about some book was there before Allah talk about that story in the Quran. Let me give you give you another one. In Quran chapter 19 verse 51. I mean, let's take it. Give me 41 first. 1941, so I don't make you go up and down. 1941. What he said there?
And remember in the book, Abraham.
Okay. How much do we know about Abraham in the Quran? Hardly nothing. We're going to get to it. There will be a day, Lord is willing, we're going to be studying what the Quran teaches about Abraham.
Muhammad is hardly mentioned. We know nothing about him. Mecca is mentioned once, and it's not even mentioned in any kind of detail.
Exactly.
There's so little detail about just about everybody. I mean, not one of Muhammad's wives is mentioned in the Quran. It doesn't explain how to do the daily prayers. The Shahada is not even in the Quran.
There's so much is not in the Quran. There's so much, and if Muslims say no, it is in the Quran, they have never read the Quran, or maybe they will give us the evidence of that so we can know for sure that the Quran has been changed. Let's go to the next verse, which is verse 54. Just 3 verses below 51. What do you have there?
And remember in the book, Ishmael.
You know how much we know about Ishmael in the Quran? I can confuse, Brother Lloyd, I can confuse any Muslim imam to prove to them that literally Ishmael and his brother Isaac are the children of Abraham from Sarah. I can prove that from the Quran. So if you don't know who is the mother of Ishmael, which Muslims claim they are the descendants of Ishmael, which, by the way, we're going to be proven that to be wrong even today when we talk about Idris, because according to Ibn Kathir, he actually believes that Muhammad is a descendant of Idris, when in reality, Muhammad is a descendant of Keturah, the wife of Abraham, after the death of Sarah, which we read about in Genesis chapter 25. But somehow, Muslims will make up literally, if you think Muhammad is the son of this guy, or that guy, it will make Muhammad the son of all the people of the world. But anyway, so how much you know about Ishmael? Nothing. Well, if you go to Quran chapter 38, verse 17.
37, 18.
38, 17.
38, 17.
Yes.
So be patient with what they say, and remember our servant David.
How can you, Yazkur Abdun Ibrahim, how you remember David when you know nothing about David in the Quran?
So it assumes that people, well, I mean, something that has been said, the Quran assumes people had knowledge of this already, which they got somewhere else. Because the Quran refers to things, but it doesn't explain them. It assumes previous knowledge, which is, as Vilna said, in the Bible. So it assumes they have the Bible.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. There is no doubt that, and we can prove this in literally every page in the Quran. But let's go to a couple more verses here. Ishmael and Elisa. Let's go to verse 48 in the same chapter we're in. Just drop down 3 verses and remember who?
Remember Ishmael and Al-Yasa. Alias.
Elias is supposed to be Elijah. Not Elijah. No, Elijah, the second guy, not the first prophet. Because Elias, which is Elijah in the Arabic Bible, Muhammad should have got it right. It is the first man, the first prophet. Elijah is the second guy. And what come after Elias?
And Za'al-Kafir.
Who is Za'al-Kafir? This is imaginary character. It is a person, it's a name without a person. No such a thing. It's a person is called Zul-Kafir. We're going to talk about him in his own chapter. Now, let's go to chapter 46 and verse 21. And that's the last one I'm going to share. 46 and 20. Yeah, chapter 46 and verse 21.
(46:21). The story of Ad's brother was invented by Muhammad and is repeated. Right. And remember the brother of Ad.
The brother of Ad? If Ad himself never existed. You remember his brother? We know nothing about to know his brother.
So there's a lot of assumption here, right? There was a very famous prophet in a documentary I once saw that said, "When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me." So, uh, so it assumes that you know these people. It assumes you know who Ad is. It assumes you know who Za'al Kafir is. I mean, yeah.
Oh, there's so much in the stories of the prophet, which the Lord has blessed me to cover in this book, the story of the prophet, the revelation of errors. I cannot help but to laugh. As a matter of fact, so many people, when they read my book, they said, the other day I was having a rough day. And just the Lord led me to start reading your book. And I was reading that chapter and I was laughing. My wife thought I lost my mind. I mean, literally 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm still reading, I'm laughing. I said, and then he shared the story with his wife and she started laughing and laughing. I said, man, this is like something good come out of the Quran. You can read and laugh, relax, enjoy life, be happy. Anyway, so let's go back to our story of Idris. And amazingly, so far, we see that remember or mention Muhammad. Remember in the book, Idris, and then he said he was a friend. إنه كان صديقا. He was a friend.
Book 185, right?
Yeah, we are in 1956.
Oh, you want to go back to 1950?
Original, back to the original story. He was a friend. A friend to who? Is it a friend of Allah? How can you make Allah a friend of some human, Brother Lloyd?
That is a very strange statement to make. Unless a friend means he was a particular kind of person with a certain talent or knowledge or skill set. He was a friend, awliya, as the Sufis would say.
Yeah.
Someone who was a friend of Allah.
It's just, in the Bible, we know Abraham was a friend of God because God called him friend. Okay? But in the Quran, how can you make Allah a friend of somebody? How can you do that? That goes against the concept of Allah, the one who's up there, have nothing to do with anything, and he already ordained everything to happen to all the people on earth, and it's over. It's like a timing machine. It's going to keep going until it stops, and then we end it. But here we talk about a friendship between a prophet and God.
But it doesn't explain anything about him, doesn't tell you about the friendship, doesn't tell you how it started, what they did, what happened anywhere. Just, he was buddy. Let's move on.
Yeah. And he was a prophet. And I love it what Al-Tabari said. He does not lie. Excuse me. Did Muhammad lie? Yeah. Did he teach the Muslim people to lie? Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, in the Bible, Brother Lloyd, the Bible is very clear. Thou shalt not lie. That's one of the 10 commandments, which we cannot we don't have a white lie and gray lie and purple lie and black lie. It is thou shalt not lie. Now, Revelation 21:8, that is, by the way, the 10 commandment. Moses writing, as Muslim believe that Prophet Moses and in the Torah. That's what the Torah says. Thou shalt not lie. In Revelation 21:8, the Bible is very clear. Liars go to hell. So Muhammad was a prophet. Idris was a prophet. Muslim scholars tell me Idris never lied. That's why Allah was revealing to him. Now, how in the world Muhammad can be a prophet and he lied and he teach people to lie? In his own words, Muhammad said, it is lawful to lie in 3 cases. Once again, a man to his wife that she will be pleased with him at the time of war, because war is deception. Of course, you can lie to your enemy, and to make peace between Muslim friends. I mean, literally, a Muslim man is a moving,
Yeah, well, it says to smooth over differences in other translations. Now, here's the thing. The question is, do Muslims have a difference with Jews? Do Muslims have differences with Christians? Do Muslims have differences with Western countries? Yes. So to smooth over differences, they're allowed to lie. To to calm, which means that anytime they have a difference of any type, they may lie, which means in every situation you can think of.
Brother, if it was not for the practice of taqiyya, Muslim would have not left Mecca 1400 years ago. Go to Quran chapter 3 and verse 28. 328, if I remember it right. If it's wrong, I'll find it to you later. But let's go to 328.
So if they dispute with you, say...
No. 28, brother. 28.
28, sorry.
Just keep going. 8 verses.
Do not take the
yeah, here it is. It is right. Praise God. Yes. Go ahead.
Believers do not take the infidels for friends, rather than the believers. And whoever does this, he has nothing to do with Allah, except that you should guard yourself from them cautiously. So only pretend to be friends, because if you really are friends, then you have separated yourself from Allah.
Yeah. You know what's amazing about that verse? If you read the interpretation of Al-Jalalain, he would tell you, you can take the infidels as friend with your tongue, bil lisan, dun al-qalb, with your tongue, but not with your heart. That mean what? That mean you're lying. And then Al-Jalalain said, and that can be practiced to whoever live in a country he's not strong in it. وهذا يجرى فيما هم from whom I can go read it exactly word for word في بلد ليس قوي فيها. So Muslim can tell the infidels, you're my friend, with the tongue, not with their heart, and this can only practice when Muslims do not have the upper hand, when Muslims are weak in the land. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened in the 57 Muslim countries where Muslim took that countries with the deception of lying and the exception of taking these infidels friend, temporary friendship. We call that temporary friendship. So, can a Muslim be a friend with a non-Muslim? No. 551 is very clear. Do not take the Jews and Christian for friends. But somehow Allah is a friend with Idris. And Idris did not lie. And Idris received revelation from Allah. Now, if it is about the Bible, we know for sure that Enoch, who is Enoch, and we know everything about in the Bible. So if Allah is talking about, and remember Idris in the book, he meant the Quran. Can you share with me one revelation Allah revealed to Prophet Idris in the Quran? Take your time, brother. You can wait for the next 10 years. Find me
he tells him that one day people will invent sliced bread.
Oh, where did he find that at?
You can read Ibn Kathir, and you can read, because I'm pretty sure these guys know things.
Okay,
have you consulted a scholar? Have you consulted a scholar?
Brother Lloyd, you talk like Muslims. You don't hear what I'm saying. Find me one revelation, one verse Allah revealed to Prophet Idris in the Quran besides these two verses, 19, 56 and 50. Somewhere else. Look for the word Idris in the Quran. Can you do me a favor to search for the word Idris in my Quran? Let's see where else Idris is mentioned.
Idris. Let's have a look. Okay, that's a comment by you, right?
Nah, you don't count that. That's not count.
Okay, that's...
Oh, here it is! 56. MashaAllah.
Yeah.
And his name is mentioned. And his name is mentioned. And his name is mentioned.
There's this one, so there's 3.
It's just the name. I'm talking about a verse where Allah said, here it is, Idris, write it down. Here's the revelation I'm going to send to you.
You need to consult a scholar.
I understand.
You know what's crazy is, certain apologetics or whatever that you used to hear from Muslims, they don't use anymore because no one's buying it. So now they have to move on to news stories. But they used to say, have you consulted a scholar? I haven't heard that in a while.
You know what I say? I see these are not scholars, these are dummers. Even the name Idris is written wrong in the Quran. Because you know what's the real name in the Arabic language? We call him Akhnuch. Akhnuch. Not Idris. I have no idea who is that Idris. I remember there used to be a doormat, a guy working next door to our building in Egypt. He's a guy from Sudan. He's a black guy. So he opened the doors and closed the doors for people coming into his apartment. It's a big building, 10-story high. They have like 40 apartments there. So that is the only man I know by the name Idris. But besides that, I know nothing. I don't know anybody else by the name Idris. Okay.
Right. That is really interesting. They mention the names and tell you nothing about them. And I suspect, I mean, remember there's supposed to be something like 15,000 missing verses from the Quran?
Yeah.
I suspect they may have removed a lot of evidence because this stuff is embarrassing for Islam. When people found what the source was, they had to take it away.
Well, but what happened if we could not find it?
Yeah, well, can I show something else then about Idris that may be of interest before?
Sure. I'm willing.
One. So let me go from the current slide. So this is something I've covered in previous slides. This is about Islam and Hermes Trismegistus, now, or also known as Hermes in Islam. Now, Hermes Trismegistus is the thrice great. He is a god. He's a Greek god. He's a Roman god. He's an Egyptian god. And this is one of the symbols associated with him, the sun and the moon. He's a magician. He brought wisdom. In fact, he supposedly brought the hikmah to earth. He brought medicine. He brought knowledge to humans. And he is, well, let's read about him. So he's also known as Thoth. That's his Egyptian name. The Egyptian god Thoth, a pagan moon god. He's also known as Hermes in the Greek, and he is known, well, the wisdom literature of Egyptian Hermeticism, which is an occult. It's the wellspring of Gnosticism, but this is Hermeticism. So Hermeticism is an occult religion. It's one of the mystery religions of Egypt. And this is supposed to be the original Egyptian occult wisdom. So the wisdom literature of Egyptian Hermeticism ended up as part of Islamic tradition, with his writings considered by the Abbasids as a sacred inheritance from the prophets, and Hermes himself as the ancestor of the Prophet Muhammad. So the Egyptian pagan deity is an ancestor of Muhammad, and his works ended up somehow as part of
Well, I'm glad, you know what, Lloyd, before you read anymore, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is, I'm going to tie that with what Ibn Kathir said about Idris. He actually said that Muhammad was a descendant of Idris. So we're talking about the same characters, the same beliefs. Go ahead, bro.
In the version of the Hermetic text kept by the Ikhwan al-Safa, Hermes Trismegistus is identified as the ancient prophet Idris, or Enoch.
Enoch.
Yeah. According to their tradition, Idris traveled from Egypt into heaven and Eden, bringing the black stone back to earth when he landed in India. Now that's unusual. The star-worshipping sect known as the Sabians, and remember, Muhammad is a Sabi. I've covered this many times on my channel. In the tradition, in the Hadith, Muhammad is a Sabi. That would be a Sabian, which is sort of, shall we say, a Gnostic, pagan, moon-worshipping sect. And these are people from Haran, from Turkey. This is where Abraham is supposed to hail from. Where Abraham,
the Sabians worship many gods. Yeah.
Yep. And also believed that their doctrine descended from Hermes Trismegistus. Now, Haran is just across the Syrian border in Turkey. Remember, Abraham was there. This is when Abraham and his family were pagans. They lived there. And of course, if you read the Jewish records from the old Jewish sages, they will tell you that Muhammad was a Sabian, that he worshipped the moon. And he was a Sabian in Haran. And they're saying here that these Sabians also, they took their doctrine from Hermes Trismegistus, like the Muslims say that they. So this is Hermes in the Encyclopedia of the Quran, as well as the Encyclopedia of Islam in volumes 10 and volumes 3. So these are from the two gold standard academic sources on Islam. Let's have a look here. The Encyclopedia of the Quran, Idris. Idris is a corruption of the last two syllables of Poimandres, which is the most important work of Hermetic literature. So the Poimandres is like the secret book, the occult manual of this Egyptian religion. And Gil, a scholar, suggested that Idris is a corruption of the name Hermes, a name that reached the Arabs in the form of Hermes. Right? It may be possible to discover the missing link between the name Idris and Enoch by means of the Qumran scrolls. Right? That's the Dead Sea Scrolls. The scrolls are based on previously extant Enoch literature. And so that's the Encyclopedia of the Quran. That's like 3,500 pages. It's a massive work.
Man.
And this one is the Encyclopedia of Islam. Again, this is like 13 volumes. It is $45,000 to buy this thing or something like that. So, Hermes Trismegistus, the strange god incarnate. On the one hand, the Hellenistic name of the Egyptian god Thoth. Was he a Muslim? The Egyptians were Muslims, right? The Egyptians were Muslims, for sure, right? For
Absolutely. Sure. I remember that. 100%. Yeah, it must be true. Yeah.
And on the other hand, he's the author of the philosophical, scientific, and, importantly, magical works. Right? Hermes Trismegistus passed in both of his capacities as a philosopher and a scientist, but don't forget, he was a magician, into Islam. And they state here, these scholars state, Islam, it is true, transformed the god into one of the heroes of olden times, who, according to his name, Trismegistus, al-Mut'alla bil-Hikmah, so the knowledge of Allah, the wisdom of Allah, I would think, appears divided into three individuals. The first Hermes is identified with Akhnur, Enoch, and Idris. He lived in Egypt before the flood, and he built the pyramids. And what's crazy is they speak of the haram, because the word haram is associated with the pyramids before it became associated with the sacred place or the forbidden place. And their name is being connected with his and other sanctuaries. And then they said the second, Al-Babili, lived after the flood in Babylonia. So he was a Babylonian. And then we go back to Haran and we go back to the moon god and revived the study of the sciences, but migrated, according to one version, and that's in the Fihrist, to Egypt. And he wrote, so he was three people. He had three lives. And he wrote after the flood in Egypt about various sciences and crafts. And this is from the Encyclopedia of Islam. This is the gold standard academic reference on Islam.
Yeah. And now let me ask a question. What was their source of this information? Did they have a solid orthodox, some material?
If we go to the Encyclopedia of Islam, if we go to the volumes I mentioned previously, we will find, so Encyclopedia of the Quran 10 and 3, and 3, they will reference, these guys will have lots of references and inside of their text, which will tell you this scholar, that paper, or this Muslim scholar. This is written by hundreds of scholars, including Muslims.
Okay. Let me ask a question. Who is his father? Yeah. Who is his father?
Who's his father?
Yeah. According to Islam. From the Bible, I can easily find it, no problem. But in Islam, who is the father of that Idris?
His father's name was a guy called Aska Scholar.
Aska Scholar. Yeah, I'll ask when I found one. I'll ask. Now, who's his children? Does he have any sons, any children, any daughters? Where did he live?
Yes. His child is named.
Where did he live?
He's got two kids. One is called Alanos, and the other one is called Best.
Yes, Allah knows best. Allah knows best. Hey man, this sounds like Arabic. It's very close to Arabic because I know Allah knows and I know best. I love you, brother. Now, okay, I appreciate this info, but I believe the Muslim, you know what I found out about Muslims? They actually prove to me that they're scholars. When they make up stuff and they can convince you of what the writing is powerful. Like I said earlier, I'm sorry, I need a source, information in the Quran. Unless you are trying to tell me that all these Muslims who write all these wonderful things are just simply copying other material from other books or making it up from their own heads. Which, by the way, none of these books are Islamic books because it did not come from Allah nor Muhammad. Yeah. All right, let's move to.
If I can just mention one more thing. What is so strange? From what you're saying, and I'll let you can continue from there after this, but there's so many pagan deities, known Arabian pagan deities, who are chapter names in the Quran. I'll start with Yasin. Scholars call this the heart of the unholy Quran, right? Chapter 36, Yasin. The meaning of Yasin is unknown, debated amongst Muslim scholars. One interpretation is, "O human being," when Sin is the name of the Babylonian moon god. Right? Why would they somehow, we just have no idea. Right? Al-Qamar is the god of the moon. It's the name of the moon god in Arabia. Ar-Rahman, right? That was the name of one of the star deities. Al-Najm, Al-Mulk, Al-Malik. We know him as Molech. Al-Buruj, the constellations, the mansions of the stars. That is, again, goes to astrological references. At-Tariq, the morning star, Venus, Sirius, and Canopus. And, you've got one more here. And Allah, I find this so odd, is the Lord of Sirius. Because it says on Najm in chapter 53.49, of the Quran, and He, Allah, is the Lord of Sirius. Sirius is the star god, and his Lord is the moon god. So this is a pantheon of pagan gods, and this is really, really odd. So only once is a star mentioned by its Arabic name, and this is Sirius. So Sirius was the head, Sin was the head, Shin, or the Babylonian god Shin was the head of the pantheon of gods, of which Sirius was one of the gods, and Shin is the lord of Sirius. Shin is therefore Allah. Your thoughts on that?
الشعري وإنه هو رب الشعر. Anyway, very amazing information. I wonder how many Muslims really know that.
Yeah, and even Tafsir al-Jalalain, they speak of this, which was worshipped in the time of pagandom. I mean, these references are insane in the Quran. It's just so much of this weirdness going on.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, I appreciate this info. I'm learning something new myself. I have not known so much of this information except now. So that's awesome. I want to go to Al-Tabari for the interpretation of the following verse, which is verse 57. And once again, it's amazing that the long verse 56, I got a short interpretation. And here is 57, which is simply 3 words in the Arabic language. It is 4 in English because you have the word and. وَرَفَعْنَاهُ مَكَانًا عَلِيًّا, and we have lifted him up to a high place. Are you ready to hear what Al-Tabari said about that?
Lifted him up to a high place.
Yeah. Here is what's so amazing about how Muslim scholars come up with this great interpretation, which is nothing but a bunch of contradiction. For example, he said يعني به إلى مكان ذو علو وارتفاع. He meant by that Allah lifted him up to some high place, something a little bit up above us, Or وقال آخرون. Whenever you hear in scholars' interpretation وقال أو وقيل آخرون, that means you're going to hear different number, you're going to hear different information, you're going to hear contradictions. So here we go. رفعه رفع إلى السماء السادسة. He was lifted up to the 6th heaven number 6. By the way, don't forget, according to the Bible, there's only 3 heavens. The heaven of the earth, that's where bird and airplane flies. The heaven of the stars, the sun and the moon, the stars declares the glory of God's work, God's hands work. And the 3rd heaven, which the Bible also calls the heaven of heavens, which is the place where our Lord and our Savior, God Almighty is. That's way, way above all the galaxies and all the stars. And obviously, that is where beloved John ascended in the flesh. That's how he wrote to us the book of Revelation from there. And that is where the Apostle Paul was also ascended. And the Apostle Paul does not know if he was ascended in the flesh or only by the Spirit. So, 6th heaven. وَقَالَ آخَرُونَ, and others said, excuse me. When you say آخَرُون, others said, others said, who are those? When you say it was said and it was said, you're a scholar. Give me the names. And how did these people know? But here's the new number. He was actually lifted to the 4th heaven. Once again, there's only 3. So I do not know. One is above Allah, above God. Somewhere else down there above.
That could be the waiting room. It could be the waiting room in heaven.
Yeah, maybe.
The waiting area,
Yeah. Now, listen to a bunch of names. Haddasni, that somebody told him. His name is Yunus. ibn Abdul A'la, the son of Al-A'la, who said, أخبرنا, another one told him by the name Ibn Wahab, who said, أخبرني, he said that somebody told me, Jarir ibn Hazim, and Sulaiman al-A'mash also heard from another guy by the name Shamri ibn Atiyah, who heard from a man by the name Hilal ibn Yasfan, who heard, whoa, who are these people? Nobody knows. The beauty of Islam, that you can give you a bunch of names and nobody knows who are these people.
No, we can prove that he's very, very reliable because Frankie, the first guy on the list, was a good guy. He had a great reputation, and he told it to a guy, Jimmy, who has a fantastic reputation, and therefore we know for a fact, and this is called the Isnad chain based on it's a science that what they just reported is 100% serious, and those Bible things with paper and written notes and everything that match up, that's not reliable. But trust me, bro.
All right. Well, here is the beauty of that. When you read the saying of Muhammad by this very, very long lineage of names, can you tell me a second name beside Muhammad who can assure us that the Quran is actually given from Muhammad to the Muslim?
No, not at all.
Come on, man. I mean, what is more important?
It's only in about the 14th century that the scholars finally decided, after being, that the scholars agreed that the surahs of the Quran are all mutawatir. Prior to that, there was no agreement. And in fact, scholars agreed that most of the Quran, the vast majority, was from weak isnad, from weak chains of narration. And therefore, most of the verses were totally unreliable.
So the miracle of Islam, the miracle of Muhammad, the Quran, we have zero reliability to know that it was actually given by Muhammad. But you believe in all these one said he was taken to some high place. Another one said it was the sixth heaven. Another one said it is in the fourth heaven. Notice I give you this three information with one air breath in my chest. In one paragraph, I got three different information about where did Allah lift that guy Idris. And you trust these names and you trust this contradictory information when at the same time we know nothing about where the Quran came from.
You know, when you put it like that, I'm not sure why people believe a word in this book.
That's a question. Yeah. Okay, so now سأل ابن عباس قال سئل ابن عباس. Ibn Abbas, that is the cousin of Muhammad, was asked all these names to get me to Ibn Abbas, the cousin of Muhammad. And now I see Ibn Abbas is more important than Muhammad himself, because Muhammad, nobody asked Muhammad, we asked his cousin. Okay. What the question? What did Allah meant? And we lifted him to a high place. قال كعب. Ka'b said, أما إدريس, as for Idris, فإن الله أوحى إليه. Allah revealed to him, إني رافع لك كل يوم مثل عمل جميع بني آدم. I will lift up for you every day equal amount, equal size, equal blessing to all the work which the sons of Adam will do. Imagine with me, if there's 100 people live there, or there's 1,000,000 people live there, Allah will brighten. You have to understand, in Islam, you got two angels. One in the right hand, one in the left hand. The bad dude in the left hand will write all the bad things you do. The good angels on the right hand will write in the book all the good things you do. Now, Allah will write for Idris every day equal to all the good deeds which everybody on earth will do. I mean, that guy is going to go to heaven with loaded with good deeds.
So he was a very important, very righteous man, and we have exactly 2 sentences of him in the Quran.
Sure. So now Idris, this humble prophet, want to live long life, that he will be able to gain more and more good works. The longer you live, the more good works Allah will add on your book. So listen what happened here. Listen.
So if he was this righteous and Allah is going to be writing about him so many good deeds, who was he and where can we learn more about him? I mean, the Quran must talk about this guy if he was this good.
Ask scholars. They will tell you. They will tell you. I have no answer, but I'm going to read you what the Al-Tabari said. So listen to this. So now, Jibreel came to him. Actually, أتاه فأتاه خليل له من الملائكة. A friend of him from the angels. That guy Idris, he used to have friends, and not just human angels. So one of the angels, who just happened to be one of his friends among the angels, came to him. Okay. So he said to him, Idris told the angels, "Can you do me a favor?" He said, "What?" He said, "Can you speak to the angel of death about me?" "What do you want me to tell him?" "Just can you tell him, hold on of taking my life. Just speak to the angel of death about me to come later. I don't want to die right now." Because remember now, Lloyd, every day he add to his book, good deeds, good deeds. If he wait 10 years, he get more and more good deeds. So he said, okay, right on my back, right on my wings. Okay, he put him in his wings and he flew with him. The angel, who's a friend of him, took him in his bosom, or carried him in his back. However, just use your imagination. Okay, these angels are small size. They're as big as the east from the west. They're huge, but small size. Small or big, it doesn't matter.
Makes
Anyway,
sense.
so he's carrying him to the fourth heaven now, Lloyd. He was carrying him to the fourth heaven. And because he was gonna, give a good talk with the angel of death. It's, I got my buddy with me here, and he really want to live a little bit, few more years. Can you give him another couple 100 years or so? You understand the story. And surprise, surprise, when they met in the fourth heaven, when the angel of death was coming down from Allah. So the good angel, his body, his friend, is carrying him up to the fourth heaven, and the angel of death was coming down to the fourth heaven, and they met at the fourth heaven. Look at this. فكلم ملك الموت في الذي كلم فيه this. So the good friend, the good friend of Idris, spoke to the angel of death. So he said, "Where is Idris?" Here he is. Show me somewhere there. He's between his wings, above his back, somewhere. He said, "Oh, wow." He was surprised. "I was descended to the fourth heaven to catch or to end his life, and I was surprised. How can I pick up the life? How can I cause that man to die in the fourth heaven when I normally go all the way down to earth to cause people to die?" Now it makes sense. And he took his spirit, and that's where he died, in the fourth heaven. Wow. That's one. Listen. Are you with me, Brother Lloyd, so far? You're having fun with this great interpretation?
Actually, my brain is hurting once more, and I'm finding this very hard to follow.
That's okay. That's okay. You know what? I'll be nice to you, and I'll cut it so short. I'm not gonna read all these garbage names because it's so much to take in my head here. I'm getting a headache myself. So let's skip this to go down here. Actually, Al-Dahak, the laughter guy. Ha ha ha! Dahak, he likes to laugh. He must be a comedy guy. Tell us a different story. Actually, that Allah lifted him to the sixth heavens, and according to some of these great Muslim scholars, he actually did not die. So he was alive. He's still alive. As a matter of fact, when Muhammad was ascended to the heaven, it's just the contradiction. God's my witness. If that is some other book and somebody bring it to me to critique it, I'll give him a 0 or a big F and throw him out of the class. If I
Are
want to,
Muslims willing to have this discussion with you about where they get these details? Because they are not in the Quran. How
I
can
give
they
you,
get these?
I give you all the names. You want to hear some more names? I give you extra headache with more names if you're interested.
Oh, let me. I found this. I just had a quick look.
Sure.
Al-Badawi said Idris is Noah's grandfather. So Idris is Noah's grandfather, and his name is Enoch. The name Idris is one who studies much in Arabic and is derived from the fact that he studied many books. It is reported that Allah revealed to him 30 scrolls. He was the first to write with a pen and the first to watch the stars and use mathematics.
Wait,
He read the map.
If Allah, before there was creation, Allah wrote by the pen in the guarded board. What do you mean he's the first? Maybe first human.
Maybe. And we raised him up to a high place refers to the exalted nature of prophethood and the favor he had with God. It's metaphorical. It wasn't literal.
You
Another
mean,
opinion says it refers to paradise, or the sixth heaven, or the fourth heaven, or it was just a story to talk about how important he was, or he went to the sixth heaven, or the fourth heaven, or it wasn't true at all, and it
mashallah,
just meant he
mashallah.
was a good prophet.
He must be.
So
I mean,
facts.
I can tell. I can tell. He must be a good prophet because all that. I mean, God help us. God help us.
Wow.
Let me get to the last portion of that because it's very important, man. It's like wow. Remember when Muhammad, according to the Quran, chapter 17, verse 1, fabrication, not interpretation, but fabrication. Muhammad was never go from one mosque to another mosque. He never, and by the way, the verse does not say he was ascended to heaven. That is not there. But anyway, Muhammad was ascended, and when he get to Muhammad and Jibril, remember, like in the case of Idris and his best friend, one of the angels, it is the same thing, Muhammad and Jibril. So every time they go up to one heaven, they knock at the door. And there's always a gatekeeper because there's gates in heaven, doors.
Okay.
Who is there? This is Angel Jibril. Anybody with you? Hey, I got with me Prophet Muhammad. Come on in, please. So now he's in the fourth heaven. قالوا ومن معه, and who is with him? He said Muhammad. They said, أوقد أرسل إليه. Oh, somebody said to him. Somebody said to Muhammad to come to heaven. Wow. Anyway, so he go.
Right.
He said, نعم, yes, he was called to come to heaven. قالوا حياه الله, may Allah cause him to live. من أخ ومن خليفة, he is a good brother, he's a good successor, he's a good, like Khalifa, successor. فنعم الأخ ونعم الخليفة, the best brother and the best successor. ونعم المجيء جاء, and the best thing whoever came to us. قال, he said, the angel inside the fourth heaven, come on in. فدخل فإذ هو برجل. So when he went there was a man standing there. قال هذا إدريس رفعه الله مكانا عليا. This is Idris, because I can imagine Muhammad look at this guy and say, who is this guy? Oh, Jibril. This is Idris, which Allah lifted him up to a high place. Now, was Iblis at that time alive or dead, Brother Lloyd? Muhammad is speaking, talking, meeting with a guy by the name Idris in the fourth heaven. Is he dead?
Idris is, yeah. Actually, I've got this here for the audience. This is in the Mishkat. And on the night journey, right, he goes to the second heaven where he sees Jesus and John the Baptist. So Jesus only made it to the second heaven because Jesus is it's only good enough for the
not bad. I mean, yeah.
And then Idris is in the fourth heaven, so Idris obviously never died.
Or the sixth, we're not sure. It could be the sixth heaven. Okay.
Muhammad wouldn't lie. He says the fourth heaven.
Well, but Idris, Muhammad.
And Idris didn't die, but he was in heaven. He was just hanging out in a lounger, having his nails done. And then Abraham is in the sixth heaven, and then there's a lotus tree in the seventh heaven. Because the lotus tree is the winner.
The higher it is, the better it is.
Yeah. This is very strange. I mean, this is contradictory. I mean, this is just
But my question is, when we read these names in the heavens, were they dead or were they alive? I mean,
dead,
Isa, I
very
understand
dead,
because he did not die.
very dead.
Jesus, I'm sorry, what?
Must go to heaven, you die, I guess. I mean, must be dead.
No, they can't. That's a confusion. According to Muslim scholars, the only two people who did not die is Isa, son of Mary, and Idris, Enoch. But in the meantime, you give me all these names of all these people. As a matter of fact, Muhammad prayed with all these prophets in Jerusalem before he met them in the heavens, and he did not know who they were. Can you imagine? Muhammad was an old man. Maybe he got Alzheimer's disease. He shake hands somebody, and 10 minutes later, he shake his hand again and said, "What's your name?" "Oh, I told you, my name is
He was
Lloyd."
suffering from Joe Biden disease.
Yep, that's what it is. But do Muslims think about Isa and Enoch alive in heaven? That's wonderful. Okay. How in the world Abraham is alive in heaven? How about all these names we read about that are alive in heaven? Were they dead when the prayer was Muhammad, the Muslim prayer in Jerusalem? And how in the world they come up to their places in the different heaven, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and they are dead? You cannot be dead in heaven. You can't. Do Muslims use logic or common sense when they read these names and these information?
No.
Okay.
They just have to accept it and not question.
Okay, do me a favor. Let's look in the Quran about the verses where I know is that everybody must die. Chapter 3, verse 185. 185.
Yep, in a moment. Did I go past?
I forgive you if you go past. I'm a patient guy.
Lucky me. Okay.
Yep.
Here we go. There we go. Before entering the garden, Muslims will be in hell for a time. Every soul tastes the death, and surely you will only receive your wages on the resurrection day. So whoever is removed from the fire and enters the garden, so indeed he becomes triumphant. And what is the world's life except the enjoyment of the proud?
So the verse speaks for itself very clear. Every soul must taste the death. Everybody have to die. And by the way, according to that verse, every soul, when it dies, it go to hell. And then they will be removed from hell to go to the paradise. We know in Islam that actually there are 7 hells. There are 7 hells. And we can talk about this some other time. The first hell is for the Muslim believers. And that is where the Muslim go in and come out to go to paradise. As for the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the 7 hells, you go there, you never come out. Christian, Jews, Sabians, the worshippers, Sabian, and the
Zoroastrians?
hypocrites. No, the 7th one is the hypocrites. So all the Muslim hypocrites, what we call in America moderate Muslims, the Muslim who does not believe in beheading Christian and Jews and raping their wives. If you are a moderate Muslim, you will be spending eternity in hell number 7. By the way, the deeper you go down, the hotter it gets. So Muslims gonna die, and every soul will die. Muslim will go to hell, and every soul will go to hell. Muslim will be removed from hell to paradise, but the rest of the souls stay in hell. You got it?
Yep.
All right. 2135. Quran 2135.
Every soul will taste death, and we will test you with evil and with good, and unto us you will return.
How can you test a dead person? Every soul will die. I understand that. Hey, I got it. I understand. Everybody's going to die. But how can you test people with evil and good? I mean, let me look at the verse again, bro. Let me look at the verse again. Every soul, what?
Every soul will taste the death, and we will test you with evil and with good, sedition, and unto us you will return.
So you're going to die, and you're going to be tested with evil and good as a sedition, and then you're going to return to Allah. I'm trying to figure this out, but I cannot figure out. I'm sorry. My information is very limited. My brain is very limited. I'm not a scholar of Islam like all Muslims. How about last one? 2957. 2957.
Here we go. Every soul will taste death. Then to us you will return. And those
Where
who
is the
believe.
Oh, that's good. That's what I need. Now, where is the test with evil and good? What is this addition here? You see, when you read the Quran one chapter at a time, Brother Lloyd, you cannot see anything wrong with it. But when you read the
Right.
same message, the same verse, the same story, and you put it everywhere else, then you put, look what happened to my hair. I used to have hair. That's what happened to you. So now, every soul tasted this, except Enoch, Idris, except Isa, son of Mary, except all these people we have seen in heaven. What an amazing book, with the exception or the contradiction or just made up stuff. These are just pure lies, made up verses, put in that beautiful poetry. Oh, sweet Arabic. When you hear the poetry of the Quran, and nobody can come up with anything like that. If the human and the jinn gathered together, they could not write a beautiful Quran like that.
Not unless they were very drunk.
Or maybe doing, like, I don't know, heroin, cocaine. I mean, it had to be some really strong, not marijuana. Marijuana, you
Be very careful about saying these words on YouTube, right?
why?
I don't know. Who knows? YouTube sometimes does weird things. My channel growth is forever stunted by the YouTube algorithm.
Oh my world. I'm sorry. We should not use this H word and the C word. You know what I'm talking about. The other
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
We're not selling them. We're not encouraging people to do them. It's just that is what happened when people use this material. They go, and that's when they can write.
Drugs. I mean, that's yeah. That's the only that's the only answer for this.
All right, let's, if you don't mind, let's open my book. Let's look at some of the stuff
I
Ibn
mean,
Kathir
what do
said.
Muslims say in debates? What do they say as to why there's so little information on these people that it barely mentions them? It says like one thing, and it's assumed that you know it. It's assumed
Well,
that you've heard it somewhere else.
brother, if Muslim will use logic and common sense, they will leave Islam. And my heart desire is not to see Muslim leave Islam. My heart desire is to see Muslim accepting Christ. I will look at what the Bible said about that man in the end of our program in the last 2 minutes, because there's not much written there, and you could not come up with all that which we talk about here in the fabrication, not interpretation. This is not interpretation. You cannot interpret a verse by bringing more information than your brain can handle. You get a headache. The verses we read, Quran 19, 56 and 57, does not have any information. Nothing else is written about Idris in the Quran except his name. We just looked at them.
Right.
You cannot tell me sixth heaven, fourth heaven, high place. He was on the wing. He was there. He met with him there. He died. He did not die. I mean, you cannot do that. It is not in the verse. It is not in the book. You cannot interpret it.
Yeah. There's no
So,
way. So the entire tafsir, the entire hadiths about this are just fabricated, as you say, because there is literally nothing in the Quran.
yep, exactly. So let's go to chapter 3 in my humble book here, The Revelation of Error. And we only got less than 2 pages. We're going to go through them quickly because I really want us to go to the Bible to learn about the true biblical account in the book of Genesis, chapter 5, and verses 18 to 24, so we can
Right.
figure out this is just made up stuff in the Quran. Go ahead, bro.
So the name Idris is used in the Quran to refer to Enoch of the Old Testament book of Genesis. Muhammad made up the name and he is mentioned in the Quran in only 4 verses. And these verses offer very little information. He was identified as a friend and prophet, and he was raised in a high place, as Quran 19, 56, 57 tells us, as we've just read. Ibn Kathir claimed that Muhammad came from the genealogy of Idris. How they know this, we don't know. And he was And he was the first of the sons of Adam who received the prophethood after Adam and Seth.
Okay. How can be the first when you already have Adam and you have Seth?
Yeah, I was just that's exactly. I was sitting there thinking, but my brain was just going,
The word first, Brother Lloyd, is a very favorite word for the Muslim scholar. So Adam was the first Muslim, Abraham was the first Muslim, Noah was the first Muslim, and Muhammad was the first Muslim, and Jesus was the first
Muslim.
So they like the word first. But you can say he's the first man who ate ham cheese, okay, sandwich. After, and you put 10 different names people ate before him. You cannot say the first, say the third. You cannot say the first. Okay, keep going.
Ibn Ishaq stated he was the first to write with a pen, and he lived with Adam 380 years. How did Ibn Kathir come up with this knowledge, since there is no basis for it or any numbers recorded in the Quran? Such information in the Hadith is widely disputed. Ibn Kathir stated that Ibn Jarir said that the higher place mentioned was ascension into the fourth heaven or the sixth heaven, or it just meant he was a much favored prophet. A friend of the angel of Allah carried Idris between his wings up to the fourth heaven, where he met with the angel of death coming down, and where's Idris, and he's on my back. And then I was sent to take his spirit in the fourth heaven. So how can I take a spirit of someone who lives on earth from the fourth heaven? So he took his spirit. Yeah, that's true story.
It's a miracle. Well, we read it twice. It must be true. Al-Tabari said the same thing what Ibn Kathir said. There's an agreement among scholars, you know?
Yeah, and Ibn Abbas says he was lifted to the sixth heaven, not the fourth heaven, because Hassan al-Basri said he was lifted to the garden. Others that he was raised up in the days of his father, Mahalil, and Allah knows best. So
you got the answer, and here's the seal. Allah knows best, you know? By the way, the word Allah knows best is the most repeated word I have in my books, just by copying it from the Quran.
Yeah, others claim he did not live before the days of Noah, but he lived in the days of Israel. But then again, we've got three Muslim versions of Idris. As we saw from the Encyclopedia of Islam, there are three variants of him.
Yep.
So what does the Bible teach about Idris? First, the name Idris is not mentioned anywhere else. Muhammad made up the name because the real name is Enoch. Well, we see now from these other scholars, it's got something, it's linked somehow to Hermes Trismegistus and the Egyptian mystery religions. So there's that.
But Brother Lloyd, if you give me a name of some name, okay, I guarantee you people heard that name and they names their children with it, or they names their gods with it, or they names their, you know, I mean, it's not because Enoch is there or Idris is there that means that is the only place we learn the Quran. Muhammad heard the name Idris somewhere else. So obviously, I guarantee you behind every name there are many stories. We're not talking about the same guy.
Yeah. Remember this from the Encyclopedia of the Quran, it states Idris is a corruption of the last two syllables of Poimandres. Now, understand the Poimandres is, I believe, the emerald tablet. The emerald tablet is in heaven or something like that. It's emerald tablets upon which wisdom is written. Does that sound familiar, Osama? Special tablets on which wisdom is written?
From a biblical perspective?
Doesn't Allah have a tablet somewhere where he's written something?
Are you talking about the guarded board? But it was not green. It was purple.
Yeah, but the idea here, you've got so because the Poimandres is the emerald tablets, right? That's what that's called.
It is some information I use in different sets of words to come up with wonderful books. That's what it is.
Yeah, so you got Idris, the Poimandres, Idris, and you've got the same. Where did the Muslims get this? Ooh, who knows? Nothing to do with pagan religion at all. Nothing to do with Hermeticism.
Yeah.
Right. So he was not the son of Mahalel. The correct spelling is in Genesis. Mahalel was his grandfather. His father's name was Jared. Enoch had a son by the name of Methuselah when he was 65, and he had many sons and daughters after Methuselah. He lived 365 years, and the Bible said he walked with God and was not, because God took him.
That's it. That's all what you know. And you will never go to some Christian theologian or Jewish theologian and they make up all these fabrication to give us an interpretation to it. But he have sons and daughters. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a very good example of how Muslim scholars can fabricate an interpretation from just a few words or verses in the Quran by simply copying information from the Bible and other sources and applying or misapplying it to whatever information they have in the Quran.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all we know about Idris is contained in two simple verses, which simply state there was a man by the name of Idris who was a friend and a prophet whom Allah lifted to a high place. Nothing more, nothing less. And the rest is, where did they get this information?
Fairy
So,
tales, fairy tales, fairy tales, fairy tales. Okay,
yeah.
that's what it is.
And Ibn Kathir tells us his real name, how he's related to Muhammad, how many years he lived, that he was a great writer with a pen, how many good deeds he performed, how he was taken to the fourth or maybe the sixth heaven on the riding on the back of a godly angel or the Burak, and how the angel of death took his spirit to heaven, to the fourth heaven, maybe the sixth one. And they know all of this information from two simple verses in the Quran, but they do not know when he lived on earth, who his real father was, or even whether he lived before Noah or lived in the days of Israel. And yeah, this sounds like a lot of fabrication.
That's it. That's the end of the story. Short and sweet, man. Short and sweet. I love it how Muslim can believe that these are scholars. If we can just figure a way to guide our dear Muslim friend to realize how propagandist those who are so-called Muslim scholars. And by the way, some Muslims do know that, Brother Lloyd, and that's why they will tell you, I'm Quranic only. I don't need the scholar to interpret it for me. I do not need the saying of Muhammad in the Hadith. I am Quranic only. But in the same time, when he takes these people to any of these passages all over the Quran and tell him or tell her, would you explain to me what Allah said here? They have no answer. I mean, it's a problem. It's a chaos. God help us.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really want us to wonder. I mean, where did they get this? I mean, have you had debates with these people to ask about where do they get this information? How do they derive all of this?
They have no answer, brother. I tried it. I tried it years ago when I used to debate Muslims. I have not debate Muslims anymore because I believe it's waste of my time. You know, when you debate Muslims, all what you want to debate you is, oh, the deity of Christ. Oh, what do you want to debate you on? Did Jesus die on the cross or not? Oh, what debate? The Bible is corrupted. They don't even have logic to their own Quran, to use the Quran to disprove the Bible. Can you imagine that?
Right.
And I used to take the Quran once again. I said, here's what your Quran said. Here's what your Allah said. Here's what Muhammad said. It is the opposite of what you're trying to use to debate and win me on whatever debate.
Now, this is something related to this that I've discussed before, and I just want to bring up a couple of things for the audience because, I mean, it hurts me to read this stuff and to listen to you, Osama, because I'm like, how can anyone, as Villain has said, the miracle of the Quran is that anyone believes it, right? And
Yeah.
this is something I've spoken about in depth. I actually have a chart that's really interesting, which goes back decades, which someone made many, many years ago. And it says the Torah is only one of a multitude of divinely revealed books acknowledged by Muslims. The total number of the Suhuf is said by Wahab bin Munabi to have been 163. Seth and Moses each received 50 books. Adam, Noah, and Salih got 2 books. Idris received 30 books. Hud, who the heck is Hud?
That's
Just
Prophet
means
Hud.
Yahud, means Judea. Got
Yeah.
4. Abraham was given 20, and David, Jesus, and Muhammad each got whatever. I'd like to know, can the Muslims show us a copy of these, please?
Man, that's a good joke. Because but you see, at least in the Quran, you read the Suhaf of Abraham, the books of Abraham, or the scroll of Abraham. But where do we read any about all the rest of these names? Did Abraham wrote anything down?
Yeah, hold on. Check this out. Ibn Sa'd, Wahab is quoted as saying that he read 92 of these scrolls, 72 of which may be encountered in houses of worship among the people. This is fascinating. The remaining 20 are known to a few people only. Wahab does not reveal which of the scrolls he read. And the figure, is, as the scholars are saying here, is patently fictitious. Some of these may have been pseudepigrapha of the type the Book of Enoch, the Book of Adam and Eve, the Apocalypse of Abraham, the Testament of Moses. So these were fictional works by Gnostics and others. This is crazy. This is called the scholars. This text that I'm reading here is Islamic Philosophy, Theology, and Science Text and Studies by Haber and Pingree. So yeah,
you know, Brother Lloyd, when you add the word Islamic to the rest of these names of these books, itself to me is a comedy. You cannot say Islamic philosophy because there's no philosophy in Islam. You cannot say Islamic history because there's no history in Islam. You cannot say Islamic whatever because whatever is not in Islam.
Wow. These scholars, I mean, this is hard hitting. Apart from the revelations to Moses, David, Jesus, and Muhammad, none of the Suhuf referred to by Wahhab can be identified, and they may be regarded safely as figments of his imagination.
But what is Muhammad either? What is the book of Muhammad? Can you give me the book of Muhammad? I would like to have the original Quran of Muhammad. I'd love to see it.
Hang on. I'm gonna help you there. I'm gonna help you find it.
Yeah, please help me. You'll be my very special friend, and I will really mean it this time.
Thank you very much. I am gonna help you find this. So let's start here. For the audience, who's probably seen this before. This is the Mohammedan Quran. Then we have all of these versions, and there's multitudes of these, and then we have the Codex of Uthman.
Mr. Lloyd, when you say we have, do you have what you have?
I'm getting there. Patience is a virtue. Virtue is a grace, and grace is a little girl who lives down the street.
All right.
And we're gonna. So from the Uthmani Codex, you have what's called the Kufan version, which is shall we call it the Iraqi Quran, the Baghdad Quran?
Mm-hmm.
You can call it the Talmud Bavli.
All
right. the Babylonian. Let's call it the Qurani Bavli, the Babylonian Quran, because Talmud Bavli is bad, so Qurani Bavli must be just as bad.
Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you have the Kufan version, which is the Babylonian Quran. So you go from the Meccan, Medinan Quran to the Uthman Quran to the Babylonian Quran. Then you go to the Asim Quran. Asim has a couple of students, and then you've got Hafs down here, and Hafs
my book. Love Hafs. Yep.
And Hafs makes 4 versions of the Quran. And then you've got this 1924 Cairo Quran. So basically, we have the Quran.
Brother Lloyd, from all what we said, I have the 1924. But beside that, none of what you said we have. You're just simply repeating the lies of Muslims. We have nothing. I don't have it. Do you have it?
Islam is the Deen al-Haq. They would never lie. It's the religion of peace. That's why I'm not scared to... that's why people are not afraid of that Muslims will riot, beat up policemen in an airport, burn down villages, trash buses, cause fires. No one's afraid of that. Peace.
Yeah. Please, thank you.
Yeah. So we have it. It's right here. It's right here.
Yeah. You know what majority of Muslims in my home country, Egypt, think?
What?
We only have one Quran. The Quran we use in Egypt, it is the one was given by Muhammad. It was actually written.
Nobody knows what the Muhammadan Quran. Nobody even has the Uthmanic Quran.
But I'm telling you, the majority of educated Muslims of Egypt, those have a degrees in colleges, they believe we have one Quran. It is Muhammad Quran, the one who gave to Abu Bakr, the one who gave to Osman, the one who gave to Umar, the one who gave to Ali, the one who gave to the followers. One Quran, only one pure Quran, not like your Bible when you have this and this and this and that and this and this and this and that. We have one Quran in the Arabic language, man, pure, holy.
Wow.
Not one word, not even a dot is different than that which was given to Muhammad by Angel Jibreel, peace be upon him. This is educated. Lloyd, listen carefully.
Wow.
These are the educated Muslims of Egypt. Now, I can take you to another 56 Muslim countries where they do not know the right hand from the left hand. They can't read Arabic. They don't understand the language. They know nothing about anything concerning Islam, and they all believe the same thing.
That is, I sometimes I have these debates online, little, some I will say something, post something, especially because of Paul Williams. I've invited Paul Williams many times, many times. So let's have a discussion about the Sharia, Mr. Paul Williams. Let's read through the Sharia texts and let's read what it says. And of course, never heard from him, but occasionally I'll post things and people will say things, and I'll start quoting and posting these things about. And Muslims very quickly tend to shut up because they can't deal with, all of these different. It's like, oh yeah, the 14 different qira'at plus the 28 transmitters. That's 42 Qurans plus the Haf says at least 4 versions, so that leaves us with 45 Qurans. That's not even counting, And then like, which one is your favorite?
But even if you can convince some Muslim of all these numbers and all these names of these different Qurans, they will all tell you they're all the same.
No,
word for word.
We can prove that easily. There's contradictions in them.
But not they. They don't even think about it. You will not even have a second thought of whatever lies you teach. You infidel, you're gonna burn in hell for your lies. You're trying to make Muslims doubt the word of Allah, the Quran, the holy, perfect word of Allah. Do you know that Quran was written word for word in the guarded board up in heaven 50,000 years before Allah created Adam and Eve? So Allah actually, Adam and his wife, I'm sorry, not Eve. We don't know what her name was. So imagine with me, every word, even the 2 verses we just read today, were written about Idris, peace be upon him, 50,000 years before Adam, his great-great-grandfather, was born.
Wow. Yeah, crazy. Just for the audience, so that they know, you can get this in my archive, links below, in the description, but you need to get a copy of the Bridges translation of the 10 Qira'at. Now, don't forget, there was first 1, then there was 7, then there were 10, then there were 14. And so, yeah, there's lots of these. These are all the canonical versions. And he speaks here of the 10 Qira'at of the Noble Quran, and in this, he highlights all of the various differences that you can find between the different Qira'at. I've covered this before in my...
You must be lying, man. This could not be true. No way. No way.
Yeah, Fadl Solomon, typical Jewish name. No wonder. No, maybe he's Catholic. I don't know. This you can tell the name Fadl. Hold on. Hindu. No, I wonder. No, Eskimo. That's it. He's an Eskimo, and you can't trust those guys. Fadl.
Is he a true Muslim believer? Does he love Allah and the Quran? Does he love the Prophet Muhammad?
Real Islam's never been tried, though. That's the sad thing. So yeah, you can go through, and he will show the differences in some verses for the audience. Just know that in some versions of the Quran, and these are Qurans that are spread throughout the world. Different people have different Qurans, different countries.
He's selling these books. Is he selling these books to make money?
No, but probably. But
you know what, sir? The Jewish people, the Zionists, are the one who pay him money to put that book online so people disbelieve in Muhammad and the Quran. I know.
But he shows us that in these different qira'at, one says she was guilty, another one says he was guilty. They did it, you did it, I did it, they did it. They were stopped by someone, they stopped someone. There's lots of these contradictions, and I mean, you probably know them way better than I do.
Here's the answer. Allah did this on purpose, that he will use these different readings of the Quran to mislead these people so he can deceive them, so when they die, they can burn in hell forever. This is one of the very tricks of Allah in his own word.
Which is why he misled people into seeing Christ die on the cross, so that everyone would believe in Christ's death on the cross. Why would Allah do something like that? Allah makes no sense.
He said to Satan at the beginning, when Satan was seduced by Allah, he said, I will surely fill hell with you and all those who follow you. So it is in Allah's plan that lots of people will burn in hell, like all Christians, like all Jews, like all atheists, like all agnostic, like all Buddhists.
So like Allah has decided, okay, you and you guys all going to hell. You got no chance. Off you go.
Yes. It's Allah. He can do
So
whatever
you
he
were made
wants.
for hell. That's great.
Yes. Surely I will fill hell with all those who. As a matter of fact, I did a great study from the Quran to prove this. This is all over the Quran. وَلَأَمْلَأَنَّ جَهَنَّمَ مِنْكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. Allah said it. It's true. I mean, are you going to argue with Allah?
Man, actually, what I'll do is I wanna invite a lot of people around, put him in the middle, and have everyone just laugh at him a little bit. That would be my plan.
All this because you are a disbeliever. You are a kafir. If you accept Islam, listen, I heard this many times. If you just say the Shahada and open your heart to Islam, Allah will clarify all these things which seem like there is an error there. But in reality, there's no error. This error is for those who will not say the Shahada. But for you and I, if we convert to Islam and revert to Islam and become a true Muslim believer, Allah will open our chest to Islam.
Yeah, but I mean, every time I do these episodes, you make me realize that there's very little said in the Quran, and people don't know the Quran. What they know is the standard narrative. They know the stories, the myth, the not the Quran. They know the tafsir, because those are the stories, the hadiths. But the Quran itself cannot
It's
sustain
unknown.
and
It's
support
unknown
any of
book.
these stories.
Have I told you when I talk like that, my wife, she think I'm serious and said, you confuse people. The people think that you're telling the truth. I said, no. People know I'm joking. So I'm joking. For those who have the same spirit like my wife, I'm just joking. Okay? It's true. Here's the truth, guys. Here's the truth. It's called the Holy Bible. It's called the Word of God. That is where you find the true food for your spirit, the true bread of life, and even Christ Himself, the living water. Without the Bible, we'll be lost. And I do not know how in the world Muslim can memorize few verses here and there from the Quran. And what's so amazing, they will use them in their prayers. And what is so more amazing, that they didn't even know what they're memorizing. Imagine with me, Lloyd. You're memorizing words in the Quran. You have no idea what it is, so you can use it in your prayers, and you think you're serving Allah.
It's crazy.
You're worshiping Allah.
Yeah, no, I
Noah.
mean, yeah, no. Look, Allah. If Allah doesn't open your chest, I mean, as Arthur Fleck says, the believers certainly will.
Yeah.
They will open your chest for you. They will use implements to help you with that.
Next
Wow.
Tuesday, by the way, Brother Lloyd, next Tuesday, Lord's willing, I'm going to be in Florida. I will do my best to be able to come in and do the broadcast. For sure, Saturday, Lord's willing, we're going
Saturday,
to
yeah, for
continue.
sure.
Yeah, Saturday, we'll continue with Israel or Palestine. It's going to get a little
Palestine.
bit deeper, a little bit stronger. It's going to be fun. But then, Lord's willing, if I could not make it Tuesday, if I could not, you have to forgive me. But if yes, I will let you know. Lord's willing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Noah. Noah is even more fun. But see, Noah and now we have a lot of information we can work with. Enoch,
Wow.
I have no idea. I don't even know who is this address, as I mentioned earlier. God is good. Any questions from anybody?
Yeah. Any last minute questions? Anyone? Any last minute thoughts? I mean, this is incoherent. I mean, you go through the Quran and you realize people are not following the Quran, because how can you? There's it's erratic. It's empty of information.
And it is the
It's
only miracle. It is the only miracle Prophet Muhammad had. We're going to prove that when we do our study on the miracles of Islam, the signs
yeah.
of Muhammad.
I was told by a couple of people that at Speaker's Corner, they would that if anybody mentioned my work, they were told to stop talking and to walk away. No one is to engage with anyone that uses my information that I provide. There's a few names they mentioned, but I was one of those names, because Muslims don't want anyone to listen to. They don't want anyone to speak about the stuff that I talk about, because it causes too much doubt, and they will lose followers. And which is crazy, because we used to get people that came on and wanted to debate, and that's just stopped. They don't engage. It's just stopped.
their
And
advice their advice to those who maybe get doubt their belief in Islam, because if you it's actually built on Quran chapter 5 and verse 101. 101, it teach Muslim don't ask, and if Muslim ask, they will doubt, and if they will doubt, they become infidels. That means they'll spend eternity in hell. So will not take the advice of Allah in the Quran. 5101 is so powerful. Don't ask. It is the opposite of what we do in our churches on Sunday. We have a Sunday school hour where we ask lots of questions. I have been
Right.
challenged, and I have challenged many people all my life. Imagine, I'm a 55 years old man. I challenged so many teachers, and many students challenged me, and that make me a stronger believer in the Word of God, the Bible. Not like in the
Right.
case of you don't ask. You ask, you're gonna doubt. You doubt, you're gonna be an infidel. Who would like to become an infidel?
Hold on, that's interesting. Lydia says we play your videos in social apps. They're hearing it with no interruptions. That's great. Um, yeah. So yeah, but anyway, so I mean, I've invited many people to say, look, let's talk about the Sharia, for instance. Let's go through these law books. Let's look at that. And no takers, but and I can see why there's. I mean, I don't see how Islam can stand if the Quran is this weak, if it cannot support all of the Islamic narrative, if it cannot support the tafsir, it cannot support the hadiths. Where are they getting this information?
Yeah.
How are they getting this information? It's
And,
just
and by the way,
boggles my mind.
how do you know if the truth is the truth or not? It is you test it by fire. I put that ring I have in my hand here, the gold ring, my wedding ring, in a fire, and I can put any piece of paper in the fire. Guess what? This is gonna burn. It's not gonna last. The gold ring will become purer and purer. I got this 24 karat gold, and I know in America they use 14 and 16 and 18 karat gold, which is like half copper, or no, half brass, and the other half is gold. That is the difference between the Word of God, the Bible, which was tested and tested and tested in the last 2,000 years, and it's still the true Word of God. The Quran, you cannot even find somebody to argue, not argue, to have a conversation or dialogue, or call it debate, the best I call it debate, to prove anything is written there to be true. Good
Right.
luck. Good luck.
Right. Well, what did you think of the information that I showed from these two encyclopedias? I mean, these are the literal gold standard academic sources, the very best academic gold standard sources on Islam. And the fact that it ties straight to Egyptian religion and
Yeah.
Greek and Roman gods is insane. What are your thoughts on that?
What it is, first of all, it's some of this information is brand new to me, so I appreciate you for putting our podcast for today. But the second thing, Muslims do not have any way to allow their thought to go into the level of critiquing their own beliefs. That's a problem. They're not. They will block it up.
Mm.
They know it is the devil. It is Satan is trying to mislead them, so they will disbelieve in Islam, so they spend the time in hell. But uh,
Yeah.
as I said, as I also said, there are names were passing around who maybe have too many different characters, two different people with the same name. Muhammad, hear it, he used it. We're gonna find out this in Quran
Yeah.
chapter 18 when we talk about Alexander the Great. I mean, there are thousands of books written about Alexander the Great, or maybe say hundreds. Muhammad picked up the wrong book. Can you imagine that? And on that wrong book, he built his story of the Quran. We know the name of the book. We know who wrote it. And Muhammad did not
Right.
realize that the story he's picking up to write about Alexander the Great, it is the only wrong story. I think this is unbelievable. This is beyond measure, beyond measure. But God is good. Hey, we're going to leave early today. See how nice I am? I normally like to talk like 4 or 5 hours. Today I'm leaving early, man. Just like consider it a blessing.
I am. That's good. That's really good. Yeah. Well, I am blessed. So yeah, guys, hopefully that was the very best 4 hours you've had compressed into just 1 hour and 38 minutes. You know. So yeah, we'll be back on
Which
Saturday.
means okay, which means when we start talking about Noah, it's going to be more than the 2 hours.
Okay, for instance, I mean, look, I work 24 hours, but just not in a row. So this is how we're going to do it, guys. We're going to do this for 24 hours, but not in a row. So,
You know what Sister Christy always says, Usama, you said you're only going to work half a day today. I said, yeah, I only work 12 hours.
yeah, half days. I work half days as well.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, that That's how you
She's
get to fame and fortune, right, Usama? That's how we
yeah,
get.
she's think she's my producer for those who do not know her. She think when we edit some radio broadcast, when I say half a day, it's like maybe 3-4 hours. I said no, half a day is 12 hours. That's my count
Yeah,
because the day we have 24 hours. That's reality. Face
yeah.
it.
I mean, yeah, I work 24 hours a day as well. I only sleep at night, as I said. And I do work 24 hours, just again, not in a row. So, guys, yeah, Usama, we'll see you on Saturday. We're going to be talking about the Palestinian occupation of Israel, which needs to stop. So, Lilomain, thank you very much. Always, thank you for your help and support. Much appreciated. Villainous, as always, and everyone else. Great to have seen you guys. Usama, we'll see you on Saturday,
Most
and
welcome.
yeah, you'll be on the beach, running around surfing and everything in Florida. I guess
No,
that's what
no,
we're going
no,
to
no,
see.
no. I have ministry and business to take care of. I don't go to beach. I lived in Florida over 10 years. I didn't go to beach maybe 3 times in 10 years. I'm not a beach guy. Don't have time for it.
Okay, fine. True story, everyone. True story. So,
Appreciate it, brother.
okay.
God bless you all. God bless you. Thank
So,
you so much.
everyone, good night. God bless. Take care, everyone.